When you're working on a character for games or animation, there's a feature that contributes very heavily to the sense of realism we feel when the character moves, and that is the character's clothing. The way that the fabric folds and wrinkles up can either make or break the illusion of realism. When we're focusing on this element of our 3D character, the very first thing that comes to our mind is usually to just slap a cloth simulation on the clothing meshes and call it a day.
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated.
However, if you have previously tried this, you will know that simulating cloth is very costly for the computer and can absolutely tank your performance. But what if I told you that there's another way to make clothing look believable when your 3D character moves? What I am about to show you completely blew my mind when I first saw it growing up playing video games, and from a first glimpse, looks like absolute wizardry. This technique is usually referred to as tension maps, and essentially consists in dynamically calculating the parts of the mesh that have been stretched and compressed in comparison to its rest pose, and blending different normal maps at different factor values for each area according to how much it has changed. Now mind you, this is a texturing and shader trick, and not a cloth simulation for deforming the actual mesh, so bear that in mind. This method is quite versatile and has been widely used in the video game development industry for a few years, so it's a great tool to add to your VFX arsenal. Alright, so let me just stop babbling on and let me show you how you can get a similar result to this one that you can see in my brand new day Spider-Man model from my last breakdown video. If you haven't watched it, make sure to open it on a new tab and watch after this one. You won't regret it. Alright, so for this effect, we need to set up a couple of different things. 1. We need to bake the wrinkle information into a normal map texture and save it to an image file. 2. We then use a geometry node setup to calculate where the mesh has been deformed. And 3. We then use that information in the shader editor to mix between the base and the wrinkle normal maps. So to generate the wrinkle map texture, we're going to use Blender's own sculpting tools. You can also do this at any other sculpting software, but here we're going to use Blender because look at that.
Oh, hell no, man.
It's an amazing software and completely free. Let's start by duplicating your character's mesh and removing any subdivision surface modifier you might have, because we're gonna add a multi-resolution to it. I know they're both very similar, but multi-resolution is a better modifier option for sculpting in general. So here on the modifier, subdivide it until you have enough resolution for the kind of detail you're trying to achieve, and jump into the sculpt mode. This is where the fun starts.
Yeah, boy.
Pick the brush of your choice and start sculpting the wrinkles everywhere you know the tissue would wrinkle up in real life. If you want to take a shortcut here, you can use Blender's own cloth brush options to save some time. But personally, I prefer to do it manually, so that's how I did it here. It's very important you add wrinkles to the whole suit, so make sure you don't miss a spot. Once you're satisfied with the wrinkle detail you just sculpted, we can go back into object mode, because we're ready to bake this beautiful detail into a normal map. To do this, we're gonna select the high poly mesh, the one that has all the high details, and hold shift and select the low poly mesh, the one we're gonna use for real for the final model. Before we move on, go into your UV editor and make sure your UV layout is good to go. If you're all set, open the shader editor on the material you want to bake to, and we're gonna add a brand new image texture node. So we're gonna press Shift A, select image texture, click new, select the resolution that we want. Here I'm going to use 4K, but you can choose whatever resolution best fit your needs. Uncheck alpha because we don't really need it, and click new image. A new image has been created internally in this Blender file, and we can use it to bake the map that we need. So to do the baking, make sure you have this new image texture selected, because otherwise the baking will result in an error. And now go into the render tab on the right, select cycles on the render engine dropdown, and GPU compute for the device if you have a dedicated graphics card. That'll make things run much faster. Now let's go into the bake section, select the bake type normal, make sure you check selected to active, and remember to have our high poly mesh selected and the low poly mesh as the active object. Set a value like 0.01 for the extrusion. This just helps the engine bake with more precision, especially on those very tight areas of the geometry. Make sure to check clear image and press bake. If everything went fine, you'll have a beautiful new normal map containing all of the detailed information that we need. Save this image to your hard drive so we can use it later, and we're done with part 1. Now let's move on to the next step, which is setting up the Wrinkle system. The geometry node setup we're going to use for this has been amazingly crafted and explained by CGVirus here on YouTube. So if you want to have an in-depth look of how he built it, make sure you check his channel out. I'll leave a direct link to it in this video. And we're also going to need the file that he provided with the geometry node ready to use, to which I'm also leaving the link to. So to get started, we're going to download the file containing the geometry node and append it to our project here. So go into Files, Append, select the file we just downloaded, click Append, open the Node Tree folder, select the tension map and append it. Now here on our character mesh, we're going to add a geometry node modifier, open the geometry node editor, and we're going to search for the node group we just added. So Shift A to add a new node, search for the node group that we want, in this case it's the tension map, and plug it between the input and output nodes. You will notice that the tension map node has a lot of different attributes to it apart from the geometry, and we're also going to plug those into these two nodes respectively. Now you see here we have an attribute that's kind of different from the other ones. That's the rest pose duplicate, which requires an object as the input. More specifically, it needs a duplicate from the mesh we're going to use in the rig, just frozen on the rig's rest pose, and that will make it possible for the engine to determine where and how much the mesh is deforming when we manipulate our rig. So to create that, just duplicate the mesh you're using in your rig and call it something like rest pose or something like that. Clear all the modifiers from it, including the armature, clear all the parents as well, and leave it somewhere it won't confuse you. Just make sure that both the rest pose mesh and the rig mesh have the same poly count, otherwise the effect won't work. So if you have a subdivision surface level in one of them, make sure you also have it on the other. Now back on your original mesh, go into the geometry node editor and use the object we just created as the rest pose duplicate reference object in the geo node. Then here on our modifiers tab, we're gonna give a name to our compress map output attribute, and that'll make sure that we can call it later in the shader editor. Here we're focusing on the compress map only, but this can also generate the stretching information too if you want. Now on the shader editor, we're gonna add a new node, search for attribute, and type the exact same name we used back in the modifier. As you can see, the geometry node is calculating how much the geometry is compressing in relation to the rest pose and baking that information in real time into a vertex color map. Pretty cool, right? And now we're pretty much done with the second part. And all that's left for us to do is to hook everything up using our normals, and we can see how beautiful this effect looks in the final result. So we are gonna drop the image texture that has our wrinkle normals here in the shader editor, and make sure the color space is set to non-color. We then add a mix color node, set it to overlay, and connect the base normal map, the one with no wrinkles on the top, and the one with wrinkles on the bottom. Now we're gonna grab the vector from our attribute node and connect it to the vector of our mix color node. And then we just need to connect the result of that to the normal map color input. And we made it. We can finally see the amazing final result. Go into the material or render preview modes, and when you move your rig's controllers, you will see the wrinkles appear on the character like magic. This effect is truly amazing in my opinion, and will definitely elevate your work to a whole new level. And the coolest part is, it can be used not only on fabric materials, but on any kind of folding surface, like skin for example, which will create an amazing effect as well. I really hope this video helped you and that you enjoyed watching it. If it did help you or kept you entertained, make sure to subscribe for more and hit that like button. It truly helps me a lot. I also really want to thank you for the amazing support on the last video and for getting us to 1,000 subscribers. I am truly grateful to every single one of you. So cheers to you guys, and here's to another 1,000. The project file for the model used in this video is available on my Gumroad and CG Trader pages. So if you want to use it, make sure to check him out. And don't miss out on my next video where we're gonna recreate another iconic character from a very beloved franchise. I wish you guys an amazing day, God bless you, and I'll see you later.